says the Rambam, V'dovo ze takona Shlomo u'Beis Dinohu. This was a takona of Shlomo and his Beis Din. And says the Rambam, Mipnei ma tikein Shlomo dovo ze. Why was Shlomo masakin such a thing? Kidei shelo yitu ha'om. Because people could make a mistake, in error. If we were to allow them to carry within the chotzer, within the movoi, or from one house to another house, then they may well be madama milsa lemilsa, may come to get confused and carry in a place Minat Torah where you can't carry, in a Shus Rabbim where the Rabbim have access, a Rishus which the Rabbim have access to. The Yerushalmi in Mesechus Círoבין remarks, Neimam arvin b'chatzeros. Why do we make Erev Chatzeros? Says the Yerushalmi, Mipnei darkei sholem. By bringing the members of the Chotzer together, there is an inyan of darkei sholem. Hadohu dichsiv drocheho darchei noam v'chol nesivo seho sholom. Says the Marshor at the end of Mesechus Círoבין, the posik drocheho darchei noam, two ways. Drocheho is a plural. That refers to Erev Techumin, which you can make an Erev in two directions. And darchei noam, the Erev Techumin, can only be made for a Devar mitzvah. And mitzvah is considered to be Imrei Noam, is a reference to the mitzvahs. And then it says, Drocheo darchei noam v'chol nesivo seho sholem. The pathways should lead to sholem by putting a loaf of bread and claiming it from every member of the chotzer. The people come together, and that would enable people to live in harmony together. And that's the end of the posuk, v'chol nesivo seho sholem, as the Marshor says, sheyargu kol echod im kelov umacholov mi beiso lechotzo lebeis chavero b'pnei hasholem. People will be familiar and will visit each other's houses on the Shabbos, and that will lead to shalom. The Erev Chatzeros is made with bread, and Shitufei Mavuas you don't have to use bread, you can use any machel. And the Levush explains, because Erev Chatzeros is a mitam diro, that is, to enable everybody to live in harmony together, where Shitufei Mavuas, that is to join the Chatzeros together, and one doesn't live in a movoi, and therefore one uses something which is not necessarily pas, which is a symbol of living in harmony together, but you can use other types of machel, which are in order to join everybody together. There are more remarks. Nowadays, the minig is that we do not make a separate Erev Chatzeros and a separate Shitufei Mavuas, but we combine it in one by claiming from each member of the Chotzer a loaf of bread and putting that into the Movoi. We have a dual result. We combine the Erev Chatzeros and the Shitufei Mavuas, and we do it all at one. Whereas in the times of the Gemara, they did require separately Erev Chatzeros and in addition Shitufei Mavuas, because in those days only one member of the Chotzer would contribute towards the Shituf in the Movoi, and for that reason required, you wouldn't, by doing Shitufei Mavuas, you haven't covered the Erev Chatzeros. Let me conclude this little introduction with the comments of the Chassam Sofer in the Tshuvas Tzadites in Oruchaim. Says the Chassam Sofer, Kol bar das yishpoit b'sichloi. Every intelligent person will understand she'i efshe b'shum ofan. It's impossible in any way lekahal Yisrael, for a kehila in Klal Yisrael, lishmer es kol b'nei beisam, to watch over every member of his household, that they should keep l'shomram b'chol yom Shabbos, to make sure on the whole of Shabbos that they shouldn't come to carry a key outside, that the small children and the women folk should not be able to carry keys, not be able to bring sidurim, that should not be able to bring talesim to the botei knesios. And this is what the Chassam Sofer adds. Ubeprat be'inyan tefillah bebeis hakneses b'yom Shabbos kodesh ba'avoas hasidurim lispalel mitochei. In the when it comes to tefillah and beis hakneses, that they will be unable to bring their sidurim to shul and to the talesim ukadama. Im kain, says the Chassam Sofer, haseichel haposhut gozer. The common understanding is shero'ui, it is appropriate, u'mechuyev, and it is obligatory. The sakein hachatzerim v'hamavuas be'erov hamatetizro. It is obligatory upon the Rav of the town, or the Talmid Chacham of the town, where it is possible to make a kosher Eruv, if it is possible so to do, that it is incumbent upon him to be mesakein in order to prevent the townspeople from doing Avera. Says the Chassam Sofer, Ein lehis atzel milesakein hamavus. One should not be lazy from making this tikkun for the mavus, lishmer ha'om, to guard the people, mikilkule shabosos kol hashana kulo, from making kilkulim in the keeping of the Shabbos the whole year round. V'hadovo mutal al harav hatamid chacham shebe'ir lesakein hamavus. It is incumbent upon the Rav, on the Talmid Chacham of the town, to make these tikkunim in the mavui, in the mavus. V'im lav michshol v'kol ha'om al savora. If not, then the michshol, it will be a stumbling block on his shoulders. Adds the Chassam Sofer, quoting the Gemara in Círovín. The Gemara says in Círovín, when Shlomo HaMelech was Mesakein, made the takona of Netilas Yadayim, Círovín and Netilas Yadayim, a bas kol came out, and they quote from Mishli, Beni, my son, Im chocham libecho, if your heart is wise, Yismach libi gam oni, my heart will also rejoice. And the Tosas points out what was the great joy that Shlomo HaMelech had made gezeros. Many other people make siyog, make fences around the Torah, and can be machmer. Says the Tosas, the joy was, and this is the interpretation of the Chassam Sofer based on this Tosas, that the joy was not only did he gozer, did he make a siyog that you cannot carry from one house to another house, from houses into the chotzer, and from the chotzer into the courtyard, into the houses, because it might people might make a mistake and think that you can carry in a Reshus HaRabim. That anybody can be machmer. But what he did was, he made a siyog, but he also made a tikkun, insofar that he made a new takona, that in addition to being mesakein, the mechitzos, that you have a proper Reshus HaYachid, he also required that you actually make the Eruv, that is, by taking bread from every member of the chotzer. In common language, of course, the Eruv refers to the mechitzos, but strictly speaking, the Eruv refers to the Eruv Chatzeros refers to the claiming of the pas from each member of the chotzer, the bread from each member of the chotzer, and that is the strict sense of the term Eruv. And it says the Torah in the Shulchan Aruch, mitzvah lachazor acha Eruv Chatzeros. It is a mitzvah to put oneself out in order to perform Eruv Chatzeros, and therefore mevorech al mitzvah, and there is a bracha on the mitzvah of Eruv. If it was purely a negative matter, that is a pure chumrah, says the Chassam Sofer, there wouldn't have been a bracha. A bracha is only something which is positive, and that's what the Chassam Sofer says. Hine ein kavonos habracha ala shekidshonu ve'osa lonu ha'utzor v'tilchul b'Shabbos. The bracha is not that we added extra chumras and extra prohibitions on carrying on Shabbos. Elar korchach loma, the high bracha al mitzvahs erevi al mitzvahs hatikun hagodol alos. The mitzvah is on the positive fact that we make an Eruv Chatzeres. We take the bread from each member of the Chotzer, join each member of the Chotzer into the communal Eruv. Lishomer Isser Hatzor Asher Mamish I Efshe Li Zoher Mimeno. That concludes my short introduction to the Mishnayos of Círovín, which we're about to learn. Of course, there is much more detail to fill in with regard to the mechitzas. But the basic concept of Eruv Chatzeres is, number one, you have to make sure that the mechitzas are kosher, that you have 4 kosher mechitzas. How we mesaken the 4th mechitza is the concern in particular we're going to learn shortly. And number 2, being mesaken the mechitzas, got proper mechitzas, then it's still prohibited to carry from one Rosh Hashanah to another Rosh Hashanah, from one Rosh Hashanah into the Chotzer, until one has made Eruv Chatzeres. So there are 2 parts which work hand in hand. Number 1, you mesaken the mechitzas, and number 2, having got your mechitzas, you join everybody in to make it as one communal unit, thereby allowing you to carry from one Rosh Hashanah into another Rosh Hashanah. That concludes my introduction to the Mishnayos of Círovín.